Long ago, in a land called Israel, there lived a prophet named Elijah. A prophet is someone who listens to God and tells people what God wants them to know. Elijah was very brave, but the land he lived in was going through hard times. There had been no rain for a long time, and rivers were drying up. People were thirsty and hungry because nothing could grow. God told Elijah to go to a place called Zarephath. There he would meet a woman who would help him. Even though Elijah didn't know what would happen, he obeyed God and began his journey. Elijah walked a long way until he finally reached the gates of Zarephath. There he saw a woman gathering sticks. She looked tired and worn out. Elijah asked her, "Could you please bring me a little water to drink?" The woman turned to go get it, even though water was very precious. Then Elijah added, "And please bring me a piece of bread too." The woman stopped. She looked at Elijah sadly and said, "I only have a handful of flour and a little oil. I was gathering sticks to cook the last meal for me and my son. After that, we have nothing left." Elijah listened and gently said, "Don't be afraid. Go home and do as you said, but first make a small cake of bread for me. Then make something for you and your son. God says your jar of flour will not run out, and your jug of oil will not go dry until he sends rain again." The woman had a choice to make. She could keep what little she had, or she could believe Elijah and trust God. Though it seemed impossible, something in her heart told her to believe. So she nodded and hurried home to bake the bread, just as Elijah had said. When she reached her kitchen, she poured out the last bits of flour and oil. She mixed and baked the bread and gave the first piece to Elijah. Then something amazing happened. When she looked back in her jars, they weren't empty. The flour and oil were still there, just like before. Day after day, the jars never ran out. There was always enough for her, her son, and Elijah. The woman smiled with joy. Her home, which had once been full of worry, was now filled with hope and faith. Time passed, and one day something terrible happened. The woman's son became very sick. No matter what she did, he did not get better. Finally, he stopped breathing. The woman was heartbroken. She cried out to Elijah, "Why did this happen? Did you come just to remind me of my sins and take my son away?" Elijah was deeply moved. He took the boy upstairs to the room where he was staying. He laid the child on the bed and prayed to God with all his heart. "Lord, please let this boy's life return to him." Elijah stretched himself out over the boy and prayed 3 times. He asked God again and again to bring the child back to life. Then a miracle happened. The boy started breathing again. Elijah was overjoyed. He picked the child up and carried him back to his mother. "Look," he said with a smile, "your son is alive." The woman burst into tears, but this time they were happy tears. She hugged her son tightly and looked at Elijah with deep respect. "Now I know you are truly a man of God," she said. "This story shows that even in the hardest times, God can provide." The woman had very little, but because she shared and believed, God took care of her every day. When she lost hope, God restored it. And when she feared the worst, God did the impossible. Elijah, too, trusted God even when he didn't know where help would come from. Their faith made room for miracles, and their story still teaches us how powerful trust and kindness can be. Whenever you feel like you don't have enough, whether it's food, strength, or hope, remember the widow at Zarephath. She gave what little she had and trusted God with the rest, and God didn't let her down. He never forgot her. He never forgets us either. Even today, he is working behind the scenes, helping us through every challenge. All he asks is that we trust him, even when things seem small, scary, or impossible. Because with God, even a handful of flour is more than enough. And that was the story of Elijah and the kind widow, a tale of trust when times were low. Even with little, she gave what she could, and God did a miracle, just like he said he would. Elijah prayed, and the boy came back. God showed his power, and that's a fact. So whenever you feel afraid or small, remember God's love is big for us all. Kindness and faith can change the day, just like they did in this Bible way. If you like this story, give a big thumbs up, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell.